Welcome to Climbing Out of COVID, the latest Women's Leadership Collaborative Network online seminar. Before we start, I'm going to go over some future events that the Chamber is hosting, with number one being their Key Bank Workshop Series, which is Advanced Selling Secrets. That is on Tuesday, September 9th at 9 a.m. on Zoom. This is talking about having a successful consultative selling process based on actual field experience, something I probably desperately need. The next one, very exciting event, is going to be on Wednesday, September 15th at 8 a.m. on Zoom, and that is the meeting, and that's actually going to feature Jennifer Rizzotti, the president of the Connecticut Sun. Very, very excited about that. You can register on the website. Also on that day, Wednesday, September 15th at 12, we have a seminar on paying too much for health insurance. This is a great presentation by SL Health Plans LLC. Again, you can register for that on the Chamber website. Quick note, I don't know if everybody saw the email, but the annual awards dinner that was supposed to take place on Wednesday, September 22nd has been postponed, just concerned with the COVID uptick in cases. So they're going to take another date for that. So just keep your ears open and eyes open for an email. The other thing is there's going to be a Middlesex County Career Fair Wednesday, October 13th at the Courtyard Marriott in Cromwell, and that's from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. And then for our October WLCN presentation, we're going to go a little different this year again, and we're going to be presenting. I'm going to be talking about spooky things for Halloween again, and this year's presentation is going to be called Drinking with the Dead in Connecticut. And what I'm going to be doing is taking the stories from Connecticut's most haunted restaurants and bars, and they're actually going to be featuring a drink recipe in each part of their presentation that you can make at home. It's going to be really fun, and that's going to be October 28th at 7:00 p.m. And with that, I am going to kick it over to Adele.
Well, welcome. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your night to listen to my presentation. I am a new Chamber member. I just came aboard this summertime, and I was immediately asked to do a workshop and was elated to be able to have this opportunity. So I am very honored. I will keep it as short as possible. I will try to leave room for questions and answers at the end. I did bring a colleague of mine. He is serving as my IT support, and he is also a peer of mine. His name is Michael. He's waving right now. If you have any questions while I'm talking, and I'm going to admit that I'm going to speak quickly because I want to be able to provide the presentation to you and allow some room for questions and answers. But as you're going, if you wanted to put some questions in the chat, he can either answer them for you or save them for the end, and then he'll just let me know which questions were throughout the chat. Okay, so let me start my presentation. I'm going to share my screen. And here we go. All right, so today is Climbing Out of COVID, Changing Our Mindset Across the 12 Categories of Life. And let me just, all right, so tonight I'm going to tell you just a brief, little bit about myself. I'll review the 12 categories of life in Lifebook, which is the program that I was certified in. We'll do a couple of deep dives or quick dives into the categories and how to change your mindset, both personally and professionally. I'm soliciting your thoughts and questions and answers. So who is Adele Frost? I have a master's degree in education at UConn, specializing in rehab psych. I will tell you, I also have minors in art history and counseling. I have been in the private and public sectors for the past 30 years in the disability field. I'm currently doing international trainings on the Lifebook platform, in various categories of life coaching. And I'm developing or have developed the program content for Lifebook Leaders Certification Program, and then actually became a certified Lifebook leader myself. I conduct and facilitate personal and Lifebook accountability support groups. And I did recently open my own business as a life coach and did become a chamber member. So the program that today, it's not a sales pitch. I want you guys to relax. I want you to just hear the different categories, and we'll brainstorm some ways of trying to climb out of COVID. But I do just want to give a shout out to John and Michelle Butcher, because they developed the program in the format that I'm doing the spin on, the COVID material. So when I show you this slide, these are the 12 categories that they developed. It is very briefly health and fitness, intellectual, emotional, character, spiritual, love relationship, parenting, social, career, financial, quality of life, and life vision. And we're going to go over each one of these very quickly so that you get a small idea of what's within those categories. But I want you to see it from a personal and a professional perspective, because as entrepreneurs and as business owners, COVID is definitely affecting us. So let's do that quick dive in each one. And I'm going to move myself here so that you guys can see. So when we look at the personal life in the health and fitness category, some of us actually are survivors of COVID, and or that we're a witness of the COVID illness. I know that the majority of us have thought of ways to increase our immunity system by eating healthy, taking supplements, eating less sugar, but have we actually gone the extra mile of exercising, whether it's stretching, high impact or low impact, doing graceful, fluid, intentional movements? I'm challenging you guys to look into the metabolic type and rate, the circadian rhythm, the biorhythms, biohacks, pursuit of life, and your longevity. Looking at downtime and taking breaks, sleeping, and have we all gone for our annual physical and blood work? But as a professional, I'm challenging you to look at your habits and systems of your day. How do you start the day off right and then end the day being as productive as possible? So reflecting and thinking about your eating habits. Are you fasting? And when are your energy highs and lows? Are you stretching throughout the day? Are you walking around, taking health breaks? Are your staff taking care of themselves? And how can you promote a healthier environment when we're thinking about this health and fitness category? So within your company, are you actually looking at fitness challenges, not only for yourself, but for your employees with some sort of incentive? It's finding a balance with the new norm of working inside the office versus home versus mask breaks versus meetings outside. When we look at the intellectual category, we're reflecting on the quarantine and what did you do during that quarantine? If the quarantine happens again, what will you do now? What will you do differently? Did you use logic, reason, and rationality about the spread of COVID? Again, this is the intellectual category. Did you research strains of the coronavirus and the COVID variants? Or did you just sit back and read any books with any genre? Did you join a book club for intellectual stimulation? Have you been looking at TED Talks or Omega for inspirational, positive thinking? Mindfulness, feeding your mind, thinking positive, creatively, and then what are you doing for your creative output? But on a professional level, are we brainstorming ideas to stay in business, maintain your customers, and way to expand? And I know over the course of the past 2 years almost, we were forced to do that. But did you collaborate with others and seek information or provide information to some other businesses who actually needed a mentor at this time? Did you take the opportunity to teach others more about the business, your business, and delegating tasks to transition the company to the next level, whatever that next level may be? Are you looking at the Kensho and the Satori moments? Kensho being the low moments that you learned the hard way, or the Satori moments where you learn the easy way and there's lots of benefits to learning those lessons? Are you going back to school, stimulating yourself intellectually with online courses, learning a new language, or meta learning? Are you allowing your employees to go back to school? Are you looking at building skills for not only for yourself or for your employees? And intellectually looking at the productivity of your company and how to improve it. So emotionally, when we look at our own personal lives, we do take into account the long-term side effects from COVID, whether or not you directly experienced the illness or you were subject to the post-traumatic stress disorder of either having it yourself or seeing a loved one go through it, or even having survivor's guilt if you did have a family member pass away. Did you show emotional intelligence, or were you very stoic in your response? Did you express your concerns to others, or were you internalizing during this COVID pandemic? Were you keeping your mindset positive? Were you taking care of yourself? And were you using reflection on things that were actually going on during the quarantine and pandemic? Were you able to take up the practicing of journaling to put out your emotions on the paper? Now, when we look at professional life, again, going back to that emotional intelligence, and when we're thinking about Daniel Goleman's, his 5 major aspects of empathy, self-motivation, self-awareness, handling relations, and managing emotions, were you able to think of the emotional stability of your business and how staff are working efficiently and productively? Were we putting up posters of inspiration and motivation throughout the COVID pandemic? Were we thinking of broadcasting positive broadcasts or podcasts on email links so that our employees or ourselves could take advantage of that inspirational workshop or podcast? Through your business, were you able to use referrals or announce the referral for EAP counseling or psychological services, not only for your employees, but maybe consider you taking it yourself? Were there meetings for employees to brainstorm a supportive work environment? And were you able to make accommodations for employees to balance that work and home life? So now, thinking about the character category during the pandemic in our personal lives, were we able to reflect on who you are and how you behave with others through introspection? Has COVID made you think about the afterlife and beyond with a reflection of your character over your lifetime? Have you looked at Benjamin Franklin's list of character traits and considered changing your behavior in a more positive and inspiring way? Have you taken any of the personality tests to look at your character? Some tests being the Myers-Briggs or the Enneagram by Rizzo and Hudson, or doing even a deeper dive in the BIA Institute of Character. For your professional life, have you had the opportunity to reflect on how employees perceive you? Or what character traits do you promote in your business? How do you inspire and motivate others to portray these positive character traits? Do you use those posters of the information of characteristics to inspire others, such as temperance, patience, industry, flexibility, resilience, or your civic duty? And the next category is the spiritual category. I know that this category is outside sometimes of people's thoughts, but when we look at it from a personal level, how has COVID and the current events provoked your curiosity of the spiritual realm? What is your relationship with your maker? Do you believe that there's a maker? Have you looked into Michael Beckwith's 4 stages of spiritual growth? To me, by me, through me, as me? Do you know anything or investigated about Vishen Lakhiani's 4 stages of consciousness evolution? A victim stage, awakening, doing some inner work of recoding to a positive mindset, or becoming extraordinary? Have you taken the time during this pandemic or quarantine to investigate into different meditation styles to de-escalate our anxiety? Or again, taking up the journalism? And from a professional perspective, from Jesse Cohen from WeWork.com, looking at ways to incorporate spirituality at work. The top 11 suggestions are to connect to your value system, be positive, treat others well, taking time for yourself, getting to know your coworkers and spreading spirituality, being mindful and putting people first, finding others who feel the same, slowing down, and taking stock of the spirituality regularly. Now, sometimes love relationship gets challenging in a work environment, but from a personal life perspective, has COVID impacted your communication with your family members or whoever you're in a relationship with? Has it impacted your intimate relationship, your time alone, your time together? Have you investigated into the 5 love languages by Gary Chapman? Looking deeply at words of affirmation that you can share with your loved ones. Physical touch, receiving gifts. I know that we all can give gifts, but do we receive them well? Spending quality time with folks and performing acts of service. And most importantly, taking care of ourselves and loving ourselves. Have we taken the time during this COVID pandemic and the quarantine to actually self-care? So from a professional perspective, have we thought about creating our environment in a positive way, loving what you do, showing and expressing it? I know that sometimes we get fatigued in what we're doing as our business. To slow down and take the time to reflect about our relationships within our business and who we surround ourselves with. Matching our employees with the company so that we can all be positive and work in a positive way, that we can influence each other to rise to the next levels, to develop positive relationships as our culture in the company. And as a supervisor or as a business owner or an entrepreneur, are you recognizing your employees and actually recognizing your successes? Are you treating yourself? Are you remembering your employee milestones, whether it's their birthday or it's their anniversaries of how long they've been working with you? This shows that you care as the boss or the owner of the business. I know that you know this already, but sometimes getting the reminders doesn't hurt. And then as a business owner and entrepreneur, have you gone ahead and developed some relationships with 5 close confidants? These could have started as Chamber of Commerce members who you didn't know were business owners. And then over the course of the last few years, they become close confidants. They are now friends of yours. So developing the love relationship category. Now, not everyone in this room is probably a parent, but there are some strategies in the category of parenting that you might be able to benefit from. So when we look at our personal lives, we're considering how COVID impacted our home life. If you do have children, are they virtually schooling or attending school at this point? It does impact our day-to-day practices. So reflecting on those best practices and things to work on, specifically the tips, tricks, and systems for parenting. So having the time away from school and having, some of us have had the benefit of working from home. Now that we are going back to school or that we are going into another season, another year of this, what were your best tips, tricks, and systems? Did you have the opportunity to build skills in any of these categories? Some of us are also parenting our own parents. Some of us are parenting our grandparents. Some of us are parenting our siblings for various reasons. And some of us are step parents. So how you balance parenting, actually, you have to consider the dignity of risking that each child takes, or whoever your parenting is. Because I know that on top of COVID, our anxiety is actually very high. So we want our loved ones to be the best that they can be, but sometimes we're afraid for them. So it's balancing that dignity to risk and at the same time being the role model towards them. Now, looking at the professional side of parenting, as entrepreneurs and as business owners, are we looking at flexible hours for parents when possible? Do we still consider those bring your child to work days? Are we parenting from a mentoring perspective of internship opportunities for grads or for upcoming graduates? No, it's challenging you to become a mentor or find your own mentor, because you actually need to have a mentor, somebody to look up to. So be the role model as well. So the social life, when we think of this category and we do a quick dive into this, how have you been impacted with your social life? Obviously, we've spent a lot of time not going outdoors, but now that we've been released back into the environment for a short period of time this summer, some of us have gone out to those nights with friends, and some of us still continue the virtual Zoom calls because of different reasons that we won't name here. But have you called and communicated with old friends? Have you actually reached out to try to draw people out of their hibernation of the quarantine? Have you actually experienced new things, seeking out new interests on your iPads or on your computers, of looking up new things that maybe socially you can grow into? Or did you find an opportunity to create your own new social circles? From that professional life perspective, there's a book by Keith Ferrazzi, Never Eat Alone. So how do we start networking and rubbing elbows? And we can still be the most successful business owner. But if you're the most successful business owner, can we become a mentor and provide some information to people that are looking to climb up on that ladder and be as successful as you are? Are you creating your own environment and situations where there are the best networking opportunities? Are you allowing your employees to market your company at those social gatherings? Maybe providing free company gifts to employees to keep and or to give to others. And I'll tell you this one story about my son who just turned 18. I have family members that work at Subway headquarters down in Milford, and they give us free t-shirts and a lot of free paraphernalia. And one of my son's favorite shirts, he's got 4 of the Subway sandwich shirts. And every single time he wears them, what do you think happens with all the teens that he's hanging out with? In those social environments, it is free marketing. So how can, through social media marketing and how through creative ways, can you take the opportunity of the social scene and benefit your company? In addition, when you're looking to the social media marketing, are you actually listening to the customers and what they're saying during the pandemic? I know that as entrepreneurs and as company owners, we've needed to shift a lot of things to try to meet those needs. But have you gone back to look at what the feedback has been? So career, in your personal life, taking the reflection on how impact looks at your career. What does your career actually look like? Are you starting to slow down or rev up like Grant Cardone with the 10X rule? Is this the direction in where you want to go? Are you looking ahead towards a new career, a second business, or a third business? So in your professional life, where are you with your business? Are you moving forward or are you starting to step down? Are you starting to delegate towards other people? Eventually looking towards retirement? Are you looking to sell your business or in closing the doors? Or are you looking to continue your business legacy? And then looking in your financial category, personally, how has COVID impacted your financial life? I know a lot of you really needed to hustle, but looking personally at your wealth portfolio, is it actually healthy? And we talk in here about financial IQ, and what is that? And what does that look like? When we made choices at a personal level, are you delaying gratification and making purchases more wisely? From a professional perspective, is the company in a healthy financial position? Are you thinking outside of the box with the delivery of services? Is the debit and the credit? Are we thinking ways to decrease the expenses and generating more revenue? Are you looking at the past and then pursuing the future? Automating and hiring more employees? What does that wealth legacy look like for you? So now we're coming to the second to the last screen. So the quality of life almost takes into consideration the previous categories, looks at them and says, all right, let's look at the quality, and have you stopped to think about the quality of life in your personal life and then the quality of life in your professional life, and how during the pandemic, in your reflection of time, what did you come up with? Are you in a time of prosperity without time to think? Or is your quality of life at a crossroads? Is your quality of life, when you think about yourself, are you healthy? Are you taking steps towards longevity? Are you looking at your lifespan projections and thinking about the next 20 to 40 to 60 years? What is your bucket list? And then when we look at the professional life and we're looking at your company, as an entrepreneur or as a business owner, is your company about quantity or quality relative to quality of life? And what is your company's customer overall rating? How can you increase your percentages of satisfaction? Is your company moving forward towards a better quality of life for all in the environment? And Nabi John's moonshots, he talks about ways that we can make the earth better. Some ideas that he was thinking about is, coming up with the cure for COVID, but how do we get ourselves back on the moon? And how do we come up with a topic that we're really invested with to solve a lot of Earth's issues? How can we decrease waste? How can we decrease bad air emissions and decrease our global footprint? When we think of our businesses, can we do that? Do we want to do that? Can we increase sustainability and have some eco-friendly systems? We're looking at quality of life, and not just for our business, but the extension of everybody. How can we brainstorm some alternative products with a win-win product or a win-win service or a win-win system? So now, taking all of these categories and reflecting our life vision, So in our personal life, where do you see yourself in 20 years? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Or where do you see yourself next year? And looking at these previous categories, thinking about what you need to prioritize. What do you want to work on? And reflecting on the past 2 years of COVID, what have you learned? And what can you change? I want you to really think about, how do you want to be remembered? When we're thinking about our death date or our crossing over, what is your legacy? And then in your professional life, again, where do you see your company in 20 years? And where do you see your company in 5 years or even next year? When you're looking at the previous categories, what do you need to prioritize and what do you want to work on in your professional life? And reflecting on the past 2 years of COVID, what have you learned and what have you changed? How do you want your company to be remembered? So this is the challenge with my presentation. I'd like each of my entrepreneurs, my business owners, or any managers who are on the call or will be watching this video thereafter. I'm challenging you with PVPS, which is your promise, vision, purpose, and strategy. So I really want you to reflect on the categories and say, what do I believe in as a personal me and as a professional business owner, entrepreneur, or management? What do I want for myself and what do I want in my profession? Why do I want that? Why do I want to change? And what do I need to do to get it? So that is my presentation. I went through it very quickly. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And now is the time for any thoughts or reflections or questions. And I hopefully we'll be able to provide answers for you. Any questions? Go ahead.
I thought it was a great presentation, Adele. Thank you very much for hitting on all those thought-provoking areas.
Thank you, Teresa. I appreciate that. Swift and quick, right? Anyone else?
What a quiet group.
I know, I kind of blew everybody's minds at this point.
So there was a question asked. So go ahead, Lauren.
No, go ahead. I had put it into the chat, but yeah.
So Lauren had asked, what is the most common problem you have seen from your clients during COVID?
Is anxiety and emotional. That is the category right now of the time. And it really is coming up with some strategies of not only emotionally de-escalating that anxiety, but it's also being able to intelligently share your emotions at work, and to be able to talk about things at work in a professional manner. I'm seeing a lot of need for referrals for counseling services, and or just talking to peers to de-escalate. It does help to talk to coworkers. I'm not so sure about talking to upper management because some folks feel funny about doing that. They want to keep their emotions to themselves and don't want their bosses to think that they're, emotionally unstable. But there is a little element there of COVID impact. And talking to your peers is a big outlet. But when folks are working with a life coach, it is a little bit different with counseling. So with the life coaching, we really focus on the meditation piece and then the switching to a positive mindset. And it's going through different steps with goals and objectives so that you can focus on. So it's going over the different 12 categories with 5-year plans, 1-year plans, annual, quarterly goals and objectives, and then drilling it down to what we refer to as 12 sacred choices. So it's focusing on that. So emotionally, there is something that is good and positive that you can work on.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Does anybody else have any other questions or? Okay. Adele, did you want to just put your contact info in the chat in case people want to follow up with you?
Oh, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah.
Yes, I will. Well, if we're going to end here, I just want to thank Kathy and Lauren very much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. I know it was swift and quick. I didn't want to take too long. Wasn't sure how the meeting flows. And I look forward to being a chamber member with you. Mm-hmm. I hope to learn from each of you. I am searching for mentors myself in different areas. So hopefully, if you have an idea for me, I would definitely encourage you to reach out, as I am looking for that information and feedback. And then if you do hear from me, it's because I'm probably searching for mentors. So it's fine if you say no to me, but I am looking to tap into this wonderful resource that is in my hometown and in my county. So thank you again for the opportunity. It's greatly appreciated.
And thank you for doing the presentation. Okay, everyone, I think we're going to call it for the evening. Again, thank you, Adele, so much for presenting, and I will see you all virtually next month.
Okay.